Hello AI coders. Today I want to share an exciting experiment I worked on last week. GitHub Copilot offers a fantastic deal. Just $10 a month grants you to access of some incredible models like the OpenAI O1 or Gemini 2.0 Flash. Now imagine if other AI assistants such as Ada could tap into these powerful language models. That's exactly the idea that inspired my latest project. Recently, Copilot has rolled out cool new features like an agentic mode and intelligent next edits, which enhance its autocomplete capabilities. Despite some comparisons with other tools like Cursor, I believe GitHub Copilot is a solid, reliable product. And personally, I do not understand why a lot of people are beating on it. One of its standout aspects is the official Visual Studio Code extension that enables other extensions to leverage Copilot's large language model. While this functionality is officially supported, there have been instances in the past where some extensions overused it. I'm looking to Klein and Rucode here, leading Microsoft to introduce API rate limits and even bans for some of these users. Since these rate limits were implemented, no further bans have occurred in my knowledge. With that in mind, I want you to treat this project as an experiment rather than a production tool. I have developed a Visual Studio Code extension called Copilot Proxy. Essentially, it forwards requests from an AI assistant like Ada to Copilot by exposing the Visual Studio Code language model API via an OpenAI-like API. This means any AI system on your machine can send requests through this proxy to harness Copilot language models. But it's important to mention here, this isn't the intended use case for Copilot, so use it with caution. It's purely experimental and I don't recommend using it extensively, especially since there have been instances of users, as I said, getting banned for overuse. Okay, so now let's dive in and see how Copilot Proxy works, and I will walk through how to install and configure this. Okay, so first, you need to download Visual Studio Code if you haven't already. Next, head over to my GitHub page for the Copilot Proxy. The link is in the description below. And navigate to the releases page. There, download the latest release of the extension. The file type is BSIX. After downloading it, you switch back to Visual Studio Code and you go to the Extensions tab here on the left side and go to the three-dot menu in the top right corner and select Install from BSIX. Then choose the downloaded file and click Install. Once installed, you can verify it by searching for Copilot Proxy in the extension view. And here you see the downloaded extension. To start the proxy, open the command palette by pressing Ctrl-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P on macOS and type Copilot Proxy. You will see three commands, one to start the server, one to stop it, and one to configure the port. The default port is 3000. When you run the start server command, the Express server will launch on port 3000 and you can monitor its output in the Copilot Proxy log channel below. The next step is to configure Ada to route requests for a dedicated model through the Copilot Proxy. To do this, create a YAML configuration file named ada.model.settings.yaml in your home directory, or look into the Ada documentation for alternative file locations. In this YAML file, you define the light LLM settings for each model. The key change is to update the API base URL so that the requests are sent through the Copilot Proxy instead of the model's official endpoint. Here are some sample settings along with an explanation. The name field here, in this case Claude 3.5 Sonnet 2024 1022, is the model name which is used by Ada. This ensures that the configuration applies to the correct model. Under the extra params, you need to specify the model. The model name here must exactly match the one defined in Copilot. In our sample here, we need to set the model to Claude 3.5 Sonnet, because that's the name used in Copilot. For models that aren't OpenAI compatible, prepend the name with OpenAI / to indicate that it should be routed via an OpenAI compatible API. This isn't necessary for the GPT models as they are already OpenAI compatible, but for other models, like for example the Anthropic models, it's needed to specify this. The last point here is the API key, and since the API key is not needed in this context, simply set it to not available. This configuration ensures that Ada routes its request through your Copilot proxy, allowing you to leverage the Copilot language models. Okay, and as a last step, we can now verify whether it is working. So I'm starting Ada here with -- sonnet. And you see with this parameter, it uses the Claude 3.5 Sonnet 2024-10-22 model, which is defined here in our Ada model settings YAML file. And I also set the streaming to true because I want to support streaming here. The Copilot proxy supports streaming and non-streaming. Now let's, for example, ask to create a Fibonacci function. Click enter. And you see now the result here. And if we switch to the output of the channel, of the Copilot proxy channel, we see that the proxy received the request with a request for the model Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and we see also here a preview of the most recent user message, which is create a Fibonacci function. Let's be a little bit more specific, create a Fibonacci function in, let's say, Python. And the result is streaming in, and we see now it's finished. Let's also try to use the Ada model, which is in our case the Open Router Anthropic Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is also configured here in my settings. It's the second entry here. So this should also work. I say yes. And we see also here the result is streaming in. And now it's finished. If we go back to the output, then we see here the logged results for Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and if you found this video helpful or interesting, I would really appreciate a like. If you're interested in more content about generative AI, Ada, agents, and other AI related topics, be sure to subscribe my channel. Happy AI coding!